Ooh, it was a dark and stormy night, and you were watching episode 2 of the Haunted October podcast series over on the Caffeinated Cryptid, available at bobbydizzle.com. Please subscribe and share. I like the aesthetics. I'm just telling you, I like the aesthetics here. This is kind of fun. If I didn't like Bigfoot more, I'd do paranormal and ghost all the time. But with that being said, I'm doing a haunted Halloween podcast series, and this is episode 2. You've probably already seen the first one last week or earlier in the week with Miss Kara Phillip. But this is just in preparation for the Tennessee Haunts and Legends Expo, in which I'm going to have a vendor booth at and meet a lot of my guests at on October 21st. So check out Tennessee Haunts and Legends Expo. You can Google it. I'll put a link to it in the description, but go ahead and head over there and check that out, and I will be there on October the 21st. Again, thanks everybody for watching tonight and following my channel, the Caffeinated Cryptid. Go ahead and check out bobbydizzle.com for all ways to watch, listen, and follow. I got Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I don't post to them a ton, but all the information to find me is on there if you need to, if that's your favorite app. And go over to bobbydizzle.com. I've got a Facebook group. It's called Coffee or Bigfoot. It's called Bigfoot and Coffee, the official Facebook group of the Caffeinated Cryptid. That's where I post everything. That's ground zero for this podcast if you're in. And if you're in and want to be like a card carrying member as of right now, that's where you start, buddy. Also, iTunes, Spotify, all ways to listen on your favorite podcast app. I'm probably on there. I think there's a couple that I'm not, but the iTunes and Spotify, Google Podcast, I am wall to wall and treetop tall on those two. On those. So not a big deal for that. So if you want to listen to the show, I'm going to post it up on. I post all the episodes on there, all the episodes on YouTube. I'm kind of backed up on bobbydizzle.com, but if you follow YouTube or a podcast app, it doesn't matter. That's more for people who are just browsing my material. Anyway, enough about me. Again, as I said in the intro where I did the campfire story, October 21st, Tennessee Haunts and Legends Expo. All my guests from October are going to be guests at that show, save for maybe one or two. But most of the people in October are going to be speakers at that convention. So everybody needs to go to Tennessee Haunts and Legends Expo. It's in the description. That's all I'll talk about that today. But so let's get to the guest. I'm reading from a script over here. I'm a professional is what I am. Professional. And I got a skeleton. Look at him. See him? $20 at Target. I got $12.99 of the Spirit Halloween, but you know I'm bougie, so I needed a Starbucks, so I bought my skeleton. Anyway, tonight's guest, Mr. Alan Sircy, Southern Ghost Stories is the title of the episode. Southern Ghost Stories, Alan Shepard. Alan Shepard, not the astronaut. Alan Sircy. He's got 22 books on Amazon. Huge paranormal researcher and enthusiast. His books are all about ghosts in the South and different cities. Mostly, a lot of them from Tennessee. There's a couple from up north, though. I was shocked to see. But all his Amazon page, Alan Sircy Amazon page, is in the description. So I'll stop rambling now, and we're going to get to the episode. Let's talk to Alan Sircy. Let's talk about Tennessee ghosts. Let's talk about hauntings, and let's have a good time. Happy Halloween, everybody. It is October. It's our Super Bowl. Woo! Let's do this. Tonight we have Alan Sircy. He is a paranormal enthusiast, possibly a paranormal investigator, and the creator of the Tennessee Hauntings Group, which has spawned the last 12 to 15 guests I've had on this show, so I owe him a debt of gratitude. And Alan, do you have a website or anything that you want to plug or anything? I know we didn't have a pre-interview or a talk or nothing. It's kind of cold.
Well, I got like you said, the Tennessee Hauntings Facebook page go just for fun, and it kind of spiraled into organized chaos. I got the Southern Ghost Stories Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah, Southern Ghost Stories. I spun off the Southern Ghost Stories to the Ghost of Gallatin. I got 2 books. I got the tours up here in Gallatin. So I've got a bunch of things. Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, I pretty much worked the members list, the Tennessee Hauntings list, up one side and down the other, till no one would respond to me. So I got a bunch of guests off of it.
Yeah, I had to we're trying to clean it up a little bit. The group, it's kind of gotten junky. It seems like everybody's just posting their events and no one's really contributing. It's all just, hey, come to my event. Hey, give me your $20. Yeah. So we're trying to for fun for the people to check out and be involved in the paranormal community here in Tennessee.
I didn't know that Tennessee was so eat up with it. Where are you at up there? Gallatin?
I'm in Gallatin, maybe 20 miles northeast of Nashville.
I should know that because I haunt that area a lot, no pun intended. But when I hear Gallatin, I think of Bozeman, Montana, and so my brain doesn't work. Like I know exactly where you're at.
Years.
Oh, imagine that. Yeah, Gallatin. I've been up that way. You're way up there. Okay. Yeah, some of the guys I've had, well, not guys, but girls, Chris Sumner and Eric Freeman Sims.
Yeah, I'm buddies to Eric. I kind of know Chris through the page, but I've never met.
Yeah, Eric. I had Eric on here. I had Eric the week after I had Sin Schrader Hill on here. So it was like a star-studded cast from. And I'm on the Tennessee line of Alabama, so Sin is like 20 minutes from me. I didn't know it. Like, why are we talking over this thing? She's up in Flintville. I'm just down the road. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm gonna go up there one day, and I don't know if they'll ever open up that hospital again. That's what worries me. The one in Fayetteville.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of it.
Or Fayetteville, as they call it, Lincoln County Hospital.
Yeah,
it's a big one, but yeah, I had Eric Freeman Sims. He's got, I guess that's up close to you, the Thomas House.
It's not too terribly far, maybe about 30, 45-minute drive up there. It's a real neat location. There's like a spring,
Red Bowling Springs
house, and a whole lot of limestone and a lot of hauntings there.
That's where it's at, isn't it? The Red Bowling Springs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was zoomed in one more click. Okay, yeah. He was a hit. I didn't know. Like, I just reached out to like a ton of people. And every one of them has been just like on the mark, on the money. I'm like, how did I get this lucky? I guess because I just went with people that had a tag. Yeah, I got.
Sorry for your luck.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. It's always fun because it's always the ones like, I don't know who this person is really, but I'm going to have them on and have fun. They're always the one that goes for like 6 hours. They come up with some kind of commonality and just keeps going. And I met up with one. I'm from Scottsboro, Alabama originally, and I found out that there's a haunted attraction there with it's like 100 years old. And I ended up making contact with the guy who leads the investigations, because they do like a haunted house every year, like a hell house, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Pay $20, but then they actually do actual investigations. I'm like, what? I said, I've been driving by that place since the 80s. And thought it was just a load of crap because they had a haunted house there. Didn't tell me anything was real haunted in there.
It's funny. Growing up in Nashville, there was a house in South Nashville called the Grandale Manor. And all my life, my mom's like, "Oh, there's a spooky old house over there. It's got to be haunted." So I started writing these books, and one day I just went over and knocked on the door. It's now a legal firm that owns it. And I said, "I just got to know. My mom told me this place is haunted when I was a kid, and I drive by here every day. Are you guys haunted?" Story. And she said, things get moved around, like their things. And there was a guy, he wore a plaid shirt and he'd walk around at night, kind of freaking everybody out. So, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, especially someplace like that the old houses, they have those residual haunts or nothing else. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize how prevalent they were until I started just talking to people. Like, yeah, most places you go by have something. You just sit around with a voice recorder.
Here in Tennessee, man, Tennessee was ground zero for the Civil War. Native Americans running. There's so many rivers and creeks run through Tennessee, and Native Americans who camped by the river where the water source was. That's where the animals would go, and it's just a whole lot of quietly very haunted here in Tennessee.
I was shocked. I kind of just started the podcast, this one, to test the waters of the podcast world, and I had all these different people. I had stand-up comedians, had a couple of local singers on, and then for some reason, nobody else would answer my calls but paranormal people. They would just, they were like, I was like, they're either really crazy or really desperate, or I seem desperate. But it seems like it worked out that way.
It's a mixture of both, perhaps.
Well, the crazy, maybe not so much. Some of the ghost hunters aren't the crazy ones. That's the weirdest thing. The ghost hunter people are the ones that seem to be the most down to earth with the evidence and everything. They always have a website or something to hawk. They always have a T-shirt.
I'm more of a researcher. I love the history, and I like how it all ties together. If something's haunted, I want to know why it's haunted. I go out and start digging and start talking to people and pull up all the newspapers and just try to figure out what happened and why things are going on.
Dude, that's like the inside baseball of hauntings. It's almost more fun than a haunting itself.
Yeah, there's a place here in Gallatin, and the story was the guy who, when I wrote Ghost of Gallatin back in 2019, the guy who owned the building told me that a psychic from Nashville came to visit him. She heard it was haunted, and she wanted to take a tour. So she walked in the door. She took a left. She touched the banister, go up the stairs, and she kind of stumbled back. She said, "I can't feel my right arm, and I've got a splitting headache." So the guy told me that story. So I go to the archives, dig up on newspapers, and I find out the building was owned by a guy named Robert Sinclair. He was a Confederate veteran who lost his right arm and suffered a head wound in the Civil War. Yeah.
See,
man,
that's the type of stuff that'll get you, man.
Yeah, that's the ice cream with the cherry on top right there.
Like a haunting's almost like the guarantee. That's like the fun part. But when you start looking into history and finding out the real dude and seeing pictures of him, God, when you see the old photograph of him next to something on a saloon or something.
Well, I've got another story kind of like that. When I wrote Southern Ghost Stories, Franklin, Tennessee, back in, I guess it was 2021. On the Franklin Square, there's an old building on the end of the square called the White Building. Are you familiar with Franklin, Tennessee?
Mm-hmm. I don't know much about the innards of it, but I do know where it's at, and I've been through it a million times.
Starbucks. It's where Starbucks is on the corner. Anyway, there's Starbucks on the corner, and then next to it is a optometrist, and the other side is a mattress store. So I was researching, talking to people, and Starbucks is telling me, "Hey, there's a drummer boy in our basement." The optometrist said, "Hey, we have a bugle boy in our basement." The mattress guy tells me, "Hey, something's in the basement, but I'm not really sure what it is." So I have a buddy of mine. He's an investigator. I mean, I'm an amateur investigator. He's a professional. He has thousands of dollars worth of equipment. So we got permission to set up in the eye doctor office there right in the middle of the building. So he and I go about 10 o'clock at night. We're sitting up down in the basement, and we're just getting nothing. No activity. Nothing's going on. So I pull out my phone, and I play the Battle Hymn of the Republic. And everything just goes nuts. Lights go off, just bells and whistles flashing. It's just crazy. So we go upstairs to the examination room, and we do the same thing. We're trying to talk to whoever there. We're using a geopore devices and getting nothing. I play the Battle Hymn of the Republic, which is a Union fight song. It's nuts. Everything goes haywire. So there, the lady who worked in the building, she gets bored. She goes, "Hey, what's your name?" And out of the geoport, it goes, "Drake." And she said, "Did you say Blake or Drake?" And he goes, "Drake," a second time. So then she goes, "Did you say Drake?" "Yes." So 3 confirmations that somebody named Drake was in the building. So next couple of days, I go to the genealogy. I'm digging them. Ohio. So before that, White was there. It was in that house was a hospital before. Can't say Thomas Jefferson Drake went to the hospital and died there. No, he found about Franklin right down the street. And perhaps he was treated there and died in that building. So it's just really wild.
What was his name?
That happens.
What was his name? You cut it out right.
Thomas Jefferson Drake.
Oh, really?
Oh, Thomas Jefferson
died
Drake.
In that building? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I can't say for sure. I mean, he died at the Battle of Franklin, but we're not where he was treated for his wounds. But the weird thing about it was he was a drummer in the 10th Ohio. So he had been playing the Battle Hymn of the Republic when he marched. That's why he communicated, because he was a musician.
That's a hell of a trigger object. Just the literal
Yeah,
fight song.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a neat experience.
Did it say how old he was, like in the publications you found?
I can't remember. If you go to runthegrave.com, if you type in Thomas Jefferson Drake, he'll come up. You can see his picture. There's a picture of his drum.
What?
I mean, it's pretty neat.
Oh my gosh! See, now you got me doing it. You cut out right in the middle of that story. It's like, no, not now.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. It's the internet. Dang, there he is. Holy crap! 21 years old. We're sharing it.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
Looks like Michael J. Fox. Look at there. 21 years old.
If you see his drum.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it could be a complete coincidence, but it's really strange.
It's really, really strange. I mean, drum Drake.
Because when I went to the archives, I kept looking for Drake as the first name, and I couldn't find anybody named Drake. And then I stumbled on Thomas Jefferson Drake, and then I went to the Find a Grave website, and there's this picture in his drum. It's like, maybe that's the guy. You know, 3 confirmations of the name Drake.
It almost Drake to me is like almost more of a modern first name.
Yeah, maybe back then though. I guess I don't know. I mean, that was what 160.
I mean, like
ago?
Back then it wouldn't be a first name. It would be more likely to be a last name, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Now people are named Drake because they like to wear mossy oak shadowgrass. You got Drake and Hunter and Aiden playing soccer together.
Yeah, that was wild that night in that eye doctor's office.
And this is downtown Franklin by the Starbucks.
Yeah, it was. Well, it's next, the same building, but it's next door. There's 3 businesses in that building, and it used to be an old house that was a hospital.
Next to the Roy Acuff's house or something.
Now, the Roy Acuff's house by Opryland, it was haunted.
Mm-hmm.
There's stories I really looked about Opryland. The old theme park used to be there, and as he got older, I think his wife passed away. They moved him onto the property there, and there's stories of people hearing footsteps going up and down. I think they'd hear lights. I mean, the whole Opryland area is just super, super haunted.
So Opryland itself was haunted, huh?
Well, it was Indian land back in the 1400s, and then became part of a huge slave plantation in 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
And it belongs to the McGavick
big as it was
family, very prominent family in Nashville. But when the last McGavick heir died, she had no children to leave the land. So she left the land to her church to be used as an orphanage or hospital. Well, her body wasn't cold in the grave, and they sold it to WSM, the radio station, to build the theme park there by the river. So they get the theme park up and running. They start seeing an old lady down at night. They see her in the gazebo. She comes and talks to some associates. They see her in the hotel. I used to work in the hotel back in 95. And I didn't really know the full story. I was just a teenager back then. But I would hear people say, oh, so-and-so saw the old lady. Hey, have you seen the old lady? And I didn't really know what they were talking about, but that was the old lady, Miss McGavick.
McGavin was the last name. Sounds familiar.
Well, yeah, they were huge. I mean, well, Carton Plantation, that was one of their cousins. Out there, the big sprawling plantation.
And now it's a Bass Pro Shop. I loved Opryland too when I was little. Mm-hmm. I remember going there and you could smell funnel cakes from halfway down 65. I remember being able to smell Opryland for like 30 minutes before you got there.
Oh yeah, it was great. The Flume Zoom and the Grizzly River. I used to love all that.
The Wabash Cannonball.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had the chaos that was inside, and I don't really understand what that was. It was more like a Space Mountain competitor.
Well, I think you had to wear glasses, didn't you? And you would see the illusions and see all these things flying around while you rode the roller coaster.
Weird. Yeah, and you had to. There's like it's the first time I ever saw a epileptic warning. Was that in that one? It's flashing lights. I may get a name, but I think it was Chaos. Like it was inside, and it was
Yeah.
reminded me of Space Mountain because it had just a bunch of drops and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like
I
an
can see
actual
that.
roller
Yeah.
coaster.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
You're
what?
right. But it seemed like
I didn't really
it was
understand.
always down. They're always working on it when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was
Since I
the
hated roller
technology really
coasters,
wasn't
though,
there yet.
yeah, it was like a 1995 version of like the virtual reality from Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
It was
the
just
technology wasn't really
cubes.
there yet. But it's,
Trying to find some more stuff here. That's wild. So, are you actually a part of a ghost hunting group now?
to do it, but I'm kind of a lone wolf. I like kind of. I mean, I'm not trying to be a. There's a lot of drama in the paranormal community. Seems like so. I kind of stay in my
Yes.
lane, and I have friends and colleagues, but I'm kind of a one man show. I do my own thing.
Now, but how long have you done it? The one man show. I mean, the actual paranormal stuff, not just the one man show.
I'm sorry,
Been
you
a
kind of broke
while.
up. Do what?
I said, how long have you been doing it? The paranormal
Oh,
investigations, though.
see,
You.
was it? I guess 2016. I went. I used to live behind an old haunted house in
Mm-hmm.
Nashville called Traveler's Rest, and all kinds of weird things would happen at the house. Trash cans would move middle of the night. TVs would come off and on, and we'd hear things, and that kind of got me started. But we pushed me into it. My wife took me to Savannah, Georgia, and while we were down there, we took a couple ghost tours. And in Savannah, they charge like $35 a head, and you only go to a handful of stops. So my wife was saying, it's kind of a ripoff. Someone should make an app for $2 has all the locations. So I went to Savannah a couple times, did some research, came back home. I taught myself how to do the code for the iPhones, and I made an app called the Savannah Ghost Map. Well, I got bored that summer, and I made one for Nashville, and then Louisville, and then Boston, Salem, St. Augustine, and New Orleans. So I kind of just jumped in head first, and then once you start doing apps, Apple and Google are very strict about the parameters and what all goes into them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd have to update them probably 2 or 3 times a year, and it got to be where it wasn't worth it. But I wrote a book. I decided to kind of spin that off and write a book in 2019, The Ghost of Gallatin, and that did really, really well. It surprised me. So I just wrote another book, Southern Ghost Stories, Murfreesboro, Spirits of Stones River.
Really?
Murfreesboro, Tennessee. It's the only city in the country had 3 Civil War battles. You had
Wow.
the Battle of Stones River, which is kind of the big one in
Mm-hmm.
1863 on New Year's
That's your
Eve.
big boy. That's one everybody talks
Yeah.
about.
And they also had the Battle of Cedars, which is kind of like it was I guess a bigger skirmish right before they had the Battle of Nashville. That's how the Union kind of took Forrest off the playing field or off the board before they had the Battle of Nashville. He was off to strike at Murfreesboro. And then they had Forrest had another adventure where what happened was when Fort Donelson and Fort Henry fell, the Union came into Nashville. And once they locked down Nashville, they kind of fanned out and took Springfield, Gallatin, Franklin, Murfreesboro. Any major city had waterways or railroads, they locked them down. So once the Union took Murfreesboro, they went up to Manchester, maybe 15 miles away. And as a show of force, they arrested 100 men and marched them to Murfreesboro and threw them into jail. So Nathan Bedford Forrest got word through some of the women that, hey, go rescue our husbands. So him and his men rode down East Main Street and just attacked the Union there and camped on the square. And they fight right there on the square. And the thing is, Forrest is outnumbered like 5 or 6 to 1, but he used the building to kind of disguise his numbers. And he got the Union to surrender, but not after they had a big fight there on the square. But the really crazy thing was once the Union had seen Forrest, they lit the fire with those 100 men. So 100 of those men were rescued by Forrest. So it's kind of a lot of gray area I don't really talk about. But yeah, Forrest saved all those men. So is he a hero or is he a villain? It's history can be a little complex.
You say they let him out once they surrendered?
No, when they saw Forrest, the Union set the jail on fire with 100 men who were just, farmers from Manchester.
And they got out because of that?
Yeah, Forrest saved them.
Okay, yeah, you got out a little bit in the middle of that. I thought you said lit it on fire. I was like, what?
Yeah, they lit them on fire. They were trying to, war was hell.
Named it after his friend named Forrest something. Right around in their bed sheet. I thought Forrest Gump. Right around in their bed sheets and their horses.
You can't defend being a slave trader. That's the lowest of lows. And
no,
but Forrest was such a complex character, man. He went into the war a private, and he left as a general. William Sherman said it was worth bankrupting the U.S. Treasury just to kill him. He was one-upping West Pointers at every turn. So it's crazy the stuff that got accomplished.
My best man at my wedding is named after him.
Okay.
And the funny part is his wife's a super lib, so it's really hilarious to bring up. And I will bring it up in a second. I will throw that grenade in any room. Give me the chance.
Yeah, there's.
Hey, Nathan, what are you named after? Who's that guy you're named after?
Yeah, like Forrest, you can't really talk about him. Andrew Jackson's another guy. Jackson, he was a crazy character. He was he loved him or hated him. We knew who he was. He was just opinionated. He was brash. He was in some duels. He was
Old Hickory.
Yep. What's the old joke that had Andrew Jackson not saved New Orleans from the British in the War of 1812, the people of New Orleans would be speaking English.
Yeah, the people of New Orleans are speaking English right now. We purchased Louisiana for 3 cents per acre back in 816 whatever, and we could probably double our money if we sold it again.
Yeah, I think you do. All right.
That's a Tim Wilson joke. I don't know if you know who that is or not.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Comedian. Yeah, Murfreesboro is so close. We go up there a lot. It kind of makes me want to go check it out.
New Orleans?
No, Murfreesboro.
Oh yeah, it's a cool town. In addition to the 3 battles, you also had the square burned down numerous times. Working on these books, that's something you kind of learn is before 1850, there were no fire codes. Everything's made of wood. So if one house catches on fire, blocks can go off within, an hour or two. And they're trying to battle it with bucket brigades from the river, from the creek. Before they even get set up. The whole square is half.
Bucket brigades is my fun.
It's just a line of men with buckets trying to fight a fire.
Yeah, I know. I know what they are. It's funny when you see pictures of them because they're just going nuts. The only thing better is those squirty things with the backpacks. You know what I'm talking about? They pull them on it looks like a big bug spray, and that's what they spray them with. Does Murfreesboro have any ghost tours or anything? Historical tours?
I think there is a group that does them in October, but they only do them a certain time of the year. I kicked around doing a tour in Murfreesboro, but the lady who runs the tour has helped me on a few things of the book, so I didn't want to go step on her toes.
Yeah, that's a big thing with territorial wise in the paranormal community. Every little group has their own home base and their own little area.
Yeah. There's so much drama in all this.
Eric Sims has Thomas House, and Chris has like the Hell's Bar, not Hell's Bar, but I've been to Hell's Bar all week. I've been looking at Hell's Bar stuff all week. She's Scotch Jail. Oh my God. I got stage 3 over here. A Scotch Jail over in Huntsville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Chris Sumner. I could not come up with Scotch Jail. There's the other one. I did Sin Schrader Hill. She's got the not South Pittsburgh, but Fayetteville and South. I've been trying to get the South Pittsburgh guy on here too, but he's busy. If you can imagine.
Yeah, I just try to get along with everybody. I don't, I think it's all silly, all the infighting and everybody. See, the thing is, everybody wants TV, be a superstar. I just want to
Mm-hmm.
do the research and have fun with it, you know?
Hey, get over there in the Bigfoot bunch and the UFO bunch. Like a bunch of hens.
Yeah, that's not really my cup of tea.
Because, the Bigfoot subject matter is like my favorite podcast thing to talk about because it gets so deep. But you start getting the I don't know how deep you go into the Bigfoot thing, if at all, which is cool if you don't. But there's two camps. There's two camps, and there's flesh and blood, and there's paranormal, and those two will fight each other tooth and nail. And if you can ever get them pissed off, I'm pretty sure that's how I'm going to pay for my house because I got them pissed off last Thursday at each other on my chat, and my views went nuts. I got more views while live than I ever have. I was like, I gotta find a way to get this going. I start selling T-shirts.
I mean, I think it's fascinating. I think it's fascinating, but I'm not an expert. It's I mean, the world's a pretty big, Earth's a pretty big place, and there's something out there, and I don't know. I don't not believe it.
But you're fairly certain that paranormal stuff exists, like ghosts.
Well, I've had so many experiences. I think there's something to it. I met a friend of mine. She's an empath. I met her working on this book, and she's very in tune with things. She tells me she can't see it, but she feels it and senses things. Mm-hmm. So what she told me what a ghost is, and no one knows for sure, but this kind of makes most sense to me. It's someone who was raised very religious, very spiritual as a child. When they die, suddenly they feel they're not worthy of going to the light, so they stay behind. They feel they'll be judged for their sins or the transgressions or the way they lived, and they're scared and they just stay here. So no one knows. That theory is probably the best one I've heard.
Yeah, it's probably part of it. Some of the cases.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like you about the Savannah thing, though. I love going down there.
Yeah, so much history. All those big picturesque squares or big mass graves. It's crazy.
Yeah, and my wife can see ghosts like periodically. She's one of those people. And surely she's not lying to me. And it's okay. But she saw one when we were down there at the Sorrel Weed House.
I had experience there. One of the experiences I had outside of Nashville was in the Sorrel Weed House.
Really? What happened?
We were in Molly's room, or I'm talking about that little outbuilding.
Yeah,
the slave.
Fuck that room.
And we were in there. I was holding my phone. I had a video. I said something like, "Hey, is anybody in here want to talk to me or my wife?" All of a sudden, my phone just went haywire. All these squiggly looking slanted lines on the phone, and it's never happened before, and it hadn't happened since. Mm-hmm. So it's really, really weird that happened there in Savannah.
Is that the room they take you in at first and then play the recordings, or is that the room in the basement?
Back in 2016, 2017. It's been a long time ago.
I know.
So I'm not sure what the tours are like now, but this is
I think it's probably the same room. There's one room they take you in where they got killed.
Yeah, supposedly, he killed her up there in her room after his wife committed suicide.
And I remember being in that room and just like, oh yeah, the slave girl. Okay, that was the house. I know I'm going to sound really amateur here, but when you take a picture in a house and the camera light gets inside of a mirror and reflects in the lens and causes a weird, I used to not understand what that was. I'm like, oh, what is that? And I realized, wait, no, don't be that. You're not one of these people.
See, we got a place up here in Gallatin called Trousdale Place. Have you ever heard of it?
I haven't. Trousdale.
It's right off the square. I actually did a video on YouTube. If you look at the Southern Ghost Stories YouTube page, you'll see. The ghost of Mary Trousdale. It's this girl. I think she was 18 years old. She died in the house, I think, from cholera or something like that. But days before, her dad died across the hall. So a lot of weird, sad things happen in the house, and people take tours there. And I'll leave the walking tour at night and take pictures, some crazy pictures. Yeah, you got it pulled up right here, and you'll kind of see some of the. Well,
this is a 4-second video. I'm not really sure.
What go to the Southern Ghost Stories YouTube channel. It should be there. The Ghost of Mary Trousdale.
One guy looked like
That's probably it. Might be it right there.
one guy looked like
That's it right there.
Jim Carrey.
That's just a toilet paper.
Is that the ghost?
That's not it.
What happened to the bears that wiped their ass in the woods? Where were those guys? Oh, that's Charmin.
Here we go.
MacBook Pro. Okay, using iMovie. I'm not playing the sound because I'm not going to risk the
oh, that's fine.
Copyright. Because I know you're telling me to do it now, but you know how they are. Is this her?
Yeah, that's Mary. She was 18 when she died, and that's where the camera is in the room, and you can kind of there's some security footage you can see.
That's crazy.
Right, yeah, watch this footage, and this happens about 10 o'clock every night.
That same thing?
Yeah, there's several recordings on here. See?
Yeah, that's not your typical dust storm.
Yeah, if it was dust, it would fall straight down. This one just goes from left to right.
And moves faster, too. Dust does.
Mm-hmm.
More.
And not only in this video, but across the hallway, they also have it going the other way.
And you give tours here?
I do tours around the square, the Ghost of Gallatin Haunted Tour, and just
really
just the ladies who run the house, and they send me videos from time to time. And this video here, I was doing a tour, and we walked up to the house because I tell folks take pictures, take videos. Walk to the house, and the light's on in Mary's room. So I go up there to the front porch, start talking about the Trousdale family, talking about Mary, and the light turns off. Well, there's no outlet for the lamp to be plugged into in the wall.
Shit, that just
There's
showed
no
that.
way the lamp was on. So there's just some pictures on the tour. That's kind of like Leatherface right there from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Here's one that's really creepy. It's kind of like a lady standing over in the corner.
Hang on, let me just pause that. I got to look through my mic arm to do things. It's very unprofessional.
Oh, you're good.
I see it. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Looks like the side of her head.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a tree, it could be a light. I don't know, but it looks kind of like a woman's face. It's really weird.
I think
there's a better one here later on.
Turn it on.
Yeah, this one here is really creepy. This guy, you can see me up here on the porch or on the staircase. I'm just telling the story, and this guy standing at the back of the group picture, and that's what he got.
Oh,
did you see the girl in the window?
I did for a second. Why does it not pause? Come on. First day on the internet.
Highly skilled and trained professional. Don't try this at home.
Dude, it just wouldn't stop. Okay, I see it now. Wow. It's got like the clown, and it's not there any other time.
No, it's the only time it's ever showed up. I mean, it looks like a child with like a bouffant hairdo. I don't know.
Got a wild looking face there. Let's see if it. I was going to ask you about that place if it was one of those places that were. It's really small because it was built 300 years ago, and like people our size can't walk in it.
They built it stages, so it's a pretty large house. Yeah, I mean it's like a regular old mansion. It's really neat. We've done investigations. The governor died. It belonged to Governor James Trousdale, and that was his granddaughter who died. Well, they've got an SLS camera footage of like a guy with like a broken leg. Both of the governor's sons had leg injuries from the Civil War. So that.
Oh, that the SLS, that's the stick figures, right?
Yeah. Over there, another video of the lady in the judge's office is another one that I did, and there's something kind of creepy over there too.
This one here?
Yes, sir.
God.
It's just right down the street too at Rosemont. That's
What in the
Judge Gill.
Ghostbusters?
Yeah, Zool.
Yeah. Where's Rick Moranis when you need him?
Really cool house. It's actually going to be on, was it Ghost Hunters? It's some show on tomorrow. It's going to be featured.
Really? I mean, that name Rosemont sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's about to be on that TV show. But the story here is I was outside of the office talking to the director. When you find out I'm related to the director, my last name is Sircy. His mother's maiden name is Sircy. It's kind of an odd last name. Well, we started talking, and I told him, hey, I just had a little boy a few months ago. So as I'm talking about my boy, I'm recording our call for my research for the book. And all of a sudden, I'm telling him there's a woman that comes up and goes, oh, good. And it's like, what? It's just me and him on the front porch. I'm about to leave. So it's really creepy. I got a video I took a live picture with my iPhone. A friend of mine has been to Rosemont a bunch of times, and each time he goes, takes a picture. Well, one time he caught a lady in gray standing there at the second floor balcony. So each time I go, I take a picture. So I kind of show what happened when I took that picture.
Was the voice audible or was it EVP?
Oh no, it was audible. It was my voice recorder on my iPhone. It was no fancy technology. It was just my phone.
I mean, did you hear it like when it happened?
No, I heard it that night when I was playing back the recording.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I was asking. I was wondering if it was. Oh wow!
Now watch here. This is the same room where like it was 10 feet away from where that happened. Do you see the lady there in the window pane? Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a passing car or a tree, the wind blowing. I don't know, man, but it's really strange. And they caught other things in that room. There's another picture I don't own the rights to. We found online where the day of the solar eclipse a couple years ago, a guy was taking a tour, and someone took a picture, and there was an old lady standing behind somebody with an old.
I'm just watching this repeat. This is where I forget I'm a host of a show.
Yeah, it's a live picture. My phone, but I looped it so you can see what I saw.
That's really the benefit of an iPhone live picture, because this is actually good for the whole thing, because you can just see it. It's like an instant replay. Go to the videotape. After wheeling on the field.
Yeah, I put together some videos last October when I was messing around with the my Mac.
I can tell it's iMovie. Recognize those titles anywhere. Use them every day.
Yeah, some of those are just podcasts I've done.
So you do tours like once a week? How often is it?
Well, I do them in October, but I do them occasionally in the spring. In the summertime, no one really wants to come out, so I don't do them very much in the summertime. But in the fall, I'll crank. On September, I'll probably crank them back up.
Because I'm like real close to just going to all these people I meet on the show and like doing in-persons at their little home base hauntings. Like I'm collecting them. Like I'm not even trying to collect them, but I'm collecting them. I'm like, this is amazing.
Well, Eric's putting on a paranormal conference in October. Nashville. You going to come to that?
Is he really? Eric Sims?
Yes, sir.
I didn't hear about it, but yeah, I mean, this is a Sorrel Weed house.
Yeah, I think I do have the pros on here.
I just happened to glance over and see it on your channel.
Yeah, I do have. It's probably towards the end, but yeah, you can see where my phone just freezes and does something really strange.
Did the tour guide tell you about Zach Bagan faking a haunting?
Do what?
Did the tour guide tell you about Zach Bagan faking a possession in the basement?
No, this is 2016. He probably hadn't been there yet.
Well, I heard about it in 2010. It was.
So
It was when
what's the story?
he got down in the basement of the Sorrel Wheat House and started faking like he was getting possessed.
I haven't heard
We
that
went
one.
there for our honeymoon in 2010.
Okay.
He'd been there. It was they cranked up. They got popular 2008, 2009, and then they just went over the. They jumped the shark a little bit.
Yeah, I've got a buddy of mine who's been on. And, it's not staged, but they kind of want the guys to on those shows to act a certain way.
Which really makes me sad when I think about how they probably do Skinwalker, because he's from here. Travis Taylor's from here, and there may be like a little bit of embellishment, and I don't want there to be.
Yeah, see, full disclosure, I don't really watch ghost hunting TV shows because I'm a researcher and I really don't want my stuff skewed. So I try to just form my own opinion, and I try to stay away from those shows so I can stay impartial.
Yeah, I don't either. Back like I just said, like in 2010 or so, when I first moved out of my parents, I graduated Alabama. Don't hold it against me. In 2006, and started working for the Army, and then like 2 or 3 years later, I moved to Huntsville with my current wife now, and I started watching ghost hunting because I never left the house because I had my own house then. I didn't have to go anywhere to smoke and drink. Got kind of more obsessed with it, but after that, I can't watch them now. I've talked to people like you and Eric Sims and basically anybody on here. I can't go back to those people.
Yeah,
I mean, not real.
Yeah, and I've done stuff. I've been around some of those guys who've been on TV show, and some of them were legit. But an event one time with somebody who was on a show, and they play back a recording of something they caught on part of a house, and they're like, "Oh, it's saying this. I was trying to communicate with us." I'm like, "No, man, that's just it's like a radio channel you picked up on when you're doing your what's it called, a
Spirit
ghost box." Yeah,
Spirit box. Yeah, I mean, that's basically how Bumblebee talked.
If everything is haunted, nothing is haunted.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like everything technically could be. I mean, if you're just talking about, background passing through. Some of those big psychics say they're everywhere. I don't know.
When I do my tours, there's one place I have where I've got a whole bunch of pictures. But the first picture I show, it looks like a silhouette of a man. Oh. And I'm like, "Hey, do you guys see the man?" They're like, "Oh, yeah, he's right there." It's like, "No, he's not." I zoom out and I show them, like, "All right, look, you see the chandelier here? The bulbs are burned out right here, but the bulbs are shining here. And the big back part, the lights are shining. It curves the silhouette." So I want them to see that not everything is a ghost. You gotta be skeptical and try to debunk where you can.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just as bad as they are, basically. Yeah. I'm Occam's razor. Like I'm all in that everything's real, but nothing's real at the same time. Like I will saddle up a Bigfoot and ride it to a UFO, but at the same time they don't exist. Like I'll take them. I'll take them both. Like I love Bigfoot, but when I start talking about it to somebody who's like witness, like I'll go all in. I'm a little kid. I'll believe anything you tell me. I'm susceptible. The sin is on your head for whatever I believe when it's over.
You got to jump on that flat Earth train and.
Oh, I'm in Huntsville. I can't do that. I love space too much. I can't talk to those people. They're not reasonable.
Yeah, I saw some on Twitter the other day, and I just kind of laughed. I mean, it's funny. It's kind of, but it's all BS.
There's no way. There's no way for it to be possible. I mean, I'm the first one to say if it is possible, if they figure out we are being lied to, I'll be all over it because I think that'd be hilarious. But I just don't think it is. You can set a time lapse camera up in your backyard and see the Earth turn. I mean, it's not that hard.
Yeah,
that's one cryptid you can debunk right off the bat. I got this couch pulled up here for a reason, by the way. When we were, that's the room in that house that they turned the lights off with the IR camera.
Yeah,
and that right there is where my wife saw that damn ghost. She said it popped up for 2 seconds and it was a Civil War guy.
What, a Civil War or a revolution?
Soldier. Let me just say soldier.
Okay.
Don't let me be a anachronistic person. He was a soldier.
Okay.
It's Savannah. It could be anybody.
Yeah, because
Could have been a homeless dude trying to sell you a palm frond.
Yeah, they really didn't fight the Civil War in Savannah. They pretty much, it's like Nashville. The mayor gave up. But the Revolution,
Huntsville too.
That's really
Huntsville gave up just like Savannah did. Wrote a letter to Mary Todd. But they give out anywhere you go nowadays. They give out those $2 IR, the K2s.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude was sitting right here because that was back when taps and everybody got real big, 2010, summer 2010. And he was like, "Hey, why don't you come sit down beside me?" And sure enough, that's where she saw it. I walked back out. She goes, "I saw something sitting in there, popped up." It's like, that dude's talking. That dude is sitting on the spirits. You don't even know.
I didn't see anything when I was down there because I took that same tour. But my K2 did go off at one point during the night.
Did you happen to do a hearse tour while you were there?
To do a what?
Hearse tour?
No,
you know I'm talking about.
I think I've seen them, but I've never taken one.
Those were fun. I'm still friends with my driver on Facebook.
Yeah,
I don't even think I probably doesn't remember who the hell I am. But they did a hearse tour, and I'm never going to find that on. I don't even know why I'm trying. It doesn't matter. But you know what Savannah looks like. Anybody that's been there does. It's old. Everything's old. Everything smells the same. It smells like hippies and dust. and you walk and sometimes black and mild smoke, depending on how far down you go on River Street. But
I used to walk River Street back and forth those praline shops, get a praline sample. Down the next shop, get another praline sample.
The pralines. Where is the? Yeah, man, they have some good praline. I found a coffee shop one time that was hidden down there, and like people were swarming. Where'd you find that fucking coffee? It's right over there.
Well, see,
everything was pralines and everything else.
In New Orleans, the pralines are different. In Savannah, the pralines, they use whole pecans. In New Orleans, they chop them up. I like the whole pecans myself.
What do you mean by chop up? Like little bits?
Yeah, they chop. Yeah, because in Savannah, you got the pralines, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's pecan halves. They just drop them whole into the mixture there and let them cool, and they serve them up. In New Orleans, they chop the pecans.
I don't like
so it's itty bitty little bits in the pralines.
That doesn't sound good. I would rather have the whole pecans.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Like at Buc-ee's and Gatlinburg. Yeah, I'm up in Tennessee a lot, and my feelings toward the Vols do not reflect my attendance in that state.
I'm a Vandy guy. Give me shit.
I hate Tennessee. Okay. My friends give me shit. They're like, "You're always in Tennessee." I'm like, "Dude, I live right there. It's right. All the stuff's right there." I'm an equal opportunity. I'm never going to find this place, but you know where the main Savannah Visiting Center / museum thing is, where they have the Forrest Gump seat.
And the bird girl. Was it Chippewa Square? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's where the square is, but the actual seat is in this museum.
Oh, is that right where
you first come?
The girl holding the things from that movie.
Yeah, that's where Bird Girl is too.
Yeah.
Garden of Good and Evil. Well, anyway, down that street, the hearse tour takes you down that street, and that's one of their stops. Is a haunted place, and I bet I could find it on here. I'm going to talk while I look, but we pull up to this house on the hearse, and everybody gets out, and you walk up, and the door's cracked just a little. And I guess because it's under construction and remodeling. It's back when SCAD was taking over the whole place and making it into like a redoing the historical portions of it. And the door was cracked, maybe 6 to 8 inches. And I saw a pair of eyes looking around that door, and the door closed. And I'm like, "Oh, this dude got plants. They're going to scare us." And I'm walking in just cautious and everything and walking around. There's nobody in there. I saw eyes come around that door and look. And to this day, I told my wife, something looked through there.
I got a weird story for you. I was in St. Augustine at the old jail there, and I took the last tour of the afternoon. And when I bought my ticket, they charged me for 2, and even though it was just me. So before I took the tour, I got my notepad on my iPhone, and I took down the number to call to get a refund, and I stuck it in my pocket. So No, actually holding it as I did my tour. So at the conclusion of the tour, I'm talking to the guide, talking about my refund, and I pull up my phone. There's a bunch of badly misspelled curse words on my phone. So did a old prison start typing on my phone while I was standing there holding it? It's one of the weirdest things that ever happened to me.
Was it in your pocket or just in your hand?
I was holding it because I was talking to the guy about getting a refund, and he said, "Hey, the last tour started, I ran over, and I just held my phone the whole time." So it was a bunch of gibberish and a bunch of badly misspelled curse words. And like I looked and thought, okay, here's what I did. I must have hit the talk to text, and I was listening to a podcast on the way down here, but I played back there's no cursing at all. So it's something that in that old jail had to be messing with me.
That's why I asked if it was in your pocket, because maybe it was still, the screen was active. You might have been bumping it with your hand, but still, if it was badly misspelled. Wow. Yeah. Here's that porch. That's my tour guide. You see how that crack up here in that door?
Yeah.
It looked like the angle. That's how far it was open. That's how far it closed. Like it was when we walked up, that was a solid 6 to 8 inches, and I saw something look through there. I was standing, and I'm like, somebody's messing on that door. And you walk in,
church?
Nobody. Oh, this is just an old house.
Okay.
I keep thinking. That dude, I guess, moonlit as a tour guide, because I still follow him, and he's a Marine. The guy's a little K2. Is that a flight? Oh, that was 22. That's a cell phone. Holy shit. It's a 2010 cell phone. What if we saw something in these pics? Yeah.
You never know. You go in there and adjust the brightness, and sometimes you might find something.
The pirate house.
Yeah, I've been in there. It's a cool place. With
the body chute in the bottom.
Well, that's where they used to Shanghai people.
Yeah, they conscript them. That's Renee Rondolia's house there. You know that story? Mm-hmm. That big old Lenny from Mice and Men dude that run around in Forsyth Park. And it was it's Forsyth, isn't it? The one with all the tombstones that had the covers on them. And he was a big old dude. He was mentally challenged. Kind of like I always was. Well, I bought the storybook, and I don't have it here. It's in my room. But he was, Lenny from Mice and Men. You know, Which Way Did They Go, George? Tell me about the rabbits.
I read it when I was in high school, but that was years ago.
Anyway, he's, for lack of a better word, he was retarded.
Okay.
And really big. So it's like he would like kill puppies when he hugged them. Kind of that kind. And he would play out in the park and everything. And then one day somebody came up murdered, and they blamed him for it and hung him. And so now he still haunts it.
Huh.
And it's a whole thing, but I think that was his that's his house where he lived. Renee Rondolia. That sounds like something from New Orleans.
Yeah, it does.
That's probably my favorite haunt from Savannah. Is Renee.
We always stayed at 1790 Inn. My wife loves their little cafe downstairs. And we stayed in that room where, was it Annabelle or Anna supposedly died, but we never had anything happen to us.
Oh, the one with the... Yeah. What about the one that you could stay at, and when you stayed why is this doing this? I'm trying to find... But if your relationship is on the rocks, it will the ghost will attack you. Or I'm like, I don't want that kind of pressure. What if I see it? What kind of crap is that? If your marriage is good, you won't see a ghost, but if it's bad, you will. I'm not going in there. We need to talk.
Stories they get embellished over the years. It's kind of like the Bell Witch in Adams, Tennessee. It's like makes me sad.
I've
written a lot of books. Everybody keeps asking me, "Are you going to do the Bell Witch?" And The Bell Witch is like it's a legend of a tale of a legend of a story. It just keeps evolving. They make stuff up, and you don't know what's what.
Yeah, and it's not true. It's just not true. It's like the Crucible on crack.
Yeah, and our same story. Oh, I went to the Bell Witch Cave and I took a rock, or my sister took a rock and wrecked our car on the way home. Just everybody has that same story.
And I've heard that it is haunted, but it's like Indian burial haunted, and not like a witch. I
don't know who told me this kind of story. It's Indian cave. It's where they lived, and
yeah,
I don't know. It's
I think it was Eric Sims that told me. it was Eric that told me about that.
He can probably know better because it's kind of folklore and just
yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on with it.
Is it? There's like an Andrew Jackson thing too. Like he was there, but he really wasn't.
Yeah, ever. The story is, John Bell was a senator or a politician. He was friends with Jackson, and Jackson supposedly drove from Hermitage. So he was getting close to John Bell's house, and his horse-drawn wagon just stopped. And he shouted something, and he swore at her, and he heard a female's voice, and finally they banter back and forth. She goes, "Okay, you can go, General Jackson," and his wagon started moving. So that's the story.
Yeah, that's very subjective. It sounds like one of those folklores that came down through it.
Yeah, and it's got, Jackson was a rock star in his time, so
he was.
Stuck
he
his
was
name
the big
on
deal. It. Even Johnny Horton cashed in. Here it is. It was Colonial Park. It was there he is, Rene Rondelier.
Okay.
Yeah, he was 7 feet tall.
Oh wow, big guy.
Hung in the square by a lynch mob, murdering.
So they say he's 7, probably like 6'2" in real life.
Probably 5'8". It's that long ago.
Yeah, it's like pro wrestling. If you're 6 foot, they say you're 6'4".
300 pounds. Yeah, that was Colonial Park. That was the one, not Forsyth. Forsyth's on down the road.
Yeah, it's got where all the fountains.
Renee was caught not long after murdering 2 young girls inside a cemetery. I think the story is he didn't do it. It isn't. That's what it isn't true. The character hasn't been found in historical records. Oh, that's not fun. Why would you do that? I don't like. I don't like this anymore.
Getting away with a good story.
I don't like this story anymore. That's my favorite one. That's my favorite story. I'm about to go back.
Yeah.
One of the SCAD kids had a mannequin in his window when we went by. That scared me.
Well, it's like in Franklin, Tennessee. There's the story is John Eaton. He was the Secretary of War for Andrew Jackson when he was president. And have you Petticoat Affair?
I know I've heard of it. I can't remember what it was.
It was a scandal back in, I guess, the 1830s or 40s. Remember, Jackson was president, and his wife supposedly, John Eaton, arranged for him to get killed or to go to sea and never come back. And he married her, and then he took her back to Tennessee, then back to Washington. And they say her ghost haunts that house in Franklin, but it's all BS because she was maybe there once or twice. His mother, but they say it's probably more like his mother or another relative who lived and died there. But because it was a big scandal in the 1830s, say, oh, it's Peggy Eaton.
I have heard of the term Peggy. I have heard the name Peggy Eaton before.
Yeah, she was a scandalous character. She was the reason. Because all these old hens in Washington, all of Jackson's cabinet, they kind of hung out together. And then John Eaton married Peggy, and she was younger. She was a barmaid. She had a foul mouth. She chewed dip and smoked. She wasn't really part of the upper crust of Washington, but they brought her in, and she butted heads with all the ladies there. And all the ladies kind of rebelled against her, and it's called the Petticoat Affair. So Jackson and his cabinet, he pretty much got rid of all his cabinet because of it.
Now that you said that, we've got a big cemetery here in Huntsville called Maple Hill, and they do the live where the inhabitants come to live once a year, the historical ones. They all dress up in cosplay and tell a story.
Yeah.
And I think that story gets told by one of them. I don't know, because we had Andrew Jackson stuff here too. Man, that sounds. I almost want to say that somebody tells it there. I don't know who.
Yeah,
They got like Tallulah Bankhead, and
it's kind of silly now, but back then it was a huge scandalous affair.
Oh yeah, I bet. Clutching pearls.
Mm-hmm.
She dips snuff. The things that they thought were scandalous back then is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
We've got a homeschool kid that works with us, and it is like watching him grow up before our eyes. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's not that big a deal, bro. So I can't imagine actually living 150 years ago.
Oh yeah, like what kills me is it's like back then. When I'm researching these books, something kind of blows me away is there were no streetlights back in the 1800s, early 20th century. So like the Tennessee State Capitol building in Nashville, all these rich, stuffy politicians would go there at night for political meetings or rallies or whatever. And inside the building's lit up. They have lamps, they have candles. When they walk outside to the portico, there's like a 3-foot section and it just drops to the ground. There's no guardrail. So all these old crusty politicians walk outside and just fall off the rail, break their legs, break their neck. Some of them died. But that was something I uncovered working on my Nashville book.
That's death that long ago. Break a leg. That's over with. That's sepsis.
Which is why light was it's a thing we take for granted now, but back then, once the sun went down, there was no light.
And who was I talking to the other day about the place where they drink Jack Daniels and sawed their legs off? It might have been the Scots. It might have been over there, the Scots jailhouse where they during the Civil War they cut their legs off after they made them shoot whiskey. Take a shot of whiskey and saw your leg off.
Yeah, that's what they would do. They'd tie a tourniquet around it and give you a shot of whiskey and just saw it off.
I think that was at that Scotch jailhouse.
I don't really know. I know Chris it happened in Franklin. There's places in Nashville that happen.
Oh, yeah, and there's a Pope's Tavern down in close to Tuscumbia. Where Helen Keller's from. They got an old Civil War hospital down there called Pope's Tavern. Everybody takes field trips to it, and they got the big thing is they cut their legs off doing shots of whiskey. I'm like, okay, make you bite a stick.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I had a lady call me. She used to run it's not really a historian, but it was a bed and breakfast in Bell Buckle, Tennessee, maybe 30 miles south of or southeast of Murfreesboro, out in the middle of nowhere. My phone wouldn't even work. But you walk into this old house, and all kinds of weird things happen there. But you walk in, you go to all the windows, and there's these red circles by every window where they had buckets where they were dipping out blood and stuff. So there's really no, and there's no record of any big battle in Bell Buckle, but they must have been skirmishing because there was red circles by every window in that house.
And that's in that area that everything happened. Like I grew up on my family were all sharecroppers on this plantation. And that's where I grew up. And the plantation house is still there. And some of the slave quarters are still standing when I was little. But half of that house got burned down by the Union. Like it's still partitioned out.
Yeah,
on their way to the Union, Battle of Bridgeport.
In the Civil War, it's like you always hear the term "damn Yankees." Most of the people here in Tennessee, they didn't own slaves. It's like war today. It's a rich man's fight, poor man's war.
Yeah.
They just got scripted in, or they got mad because the Yankees came here and took their cattle and took their crops. And I read an account of a lady in Nashville where the Union, she received permission to stay in her house, and she told that no one would bother her. Well, another general took over. He came in, kicked her out of her house, said, you can come back, and went and rent one room for $10 a month. So, it was a very unpopular war here in the South. And even up in North, it wasn't very popular. That was it. The gangs of New York. You know, that big scene there in the end is based on a true story. People were rebelling in the North because their kids were getting drafted. You know, they said that had the war gone on another year, eventually the North would have conceded or made some kind of agreement because they couldn't have kept fighting. It's like the revolution, you know, England would have won eventually, but it was so unpopular, they just could just kind of break off, do their own thing.
They got mad. They were making the Irishmen sign up to fight gangs in New York. I need to go back and watch that movie.
Yeah, after I started doing all this research and digging into history, it's like, yeah, it's it's kind of embellished, but it's what really happened. There were riots up north because these parents didn't want their kids being drafted to go fight in an endless war down south.
Yeah, that's a story nobody ever tells. Nobody ever goes into what they thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was very popular down here and up there.
And the whole the Union states didn't have to give up their slaves as quickly as they thought they did, or they didn't. They didn't have. What am I trying to say here? They didn't have to give it up because they weren't part of the secessions, so they kept them longer.
Well, what's wild is the Civil War almost happened when Andrew Jackson was president. South Carolina tried to secede, and he brokered a deal, and they stayed in the Union.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Is that the Whiskey Rebellion?
I don't know.
That was George Washington.
I remember reading that Jackson had to kind of tread lightly because South Carolina won, and it was based on slavery and them just being prickly with the North. But yeah, South Carolina tried to break away.
Well, I have to look that up. Show it, and goodness, I've heard it. Took a ton of history classes.
All I do is sit around and read old newspapers, man. I have no life, my wife.
That's how I found out I wanted to be a history minor in college. Is I was taking all these history classes, and it's the only class I can get an A in. So I was sitting there listening. To the stories. I was basically listening to podcasts 3 days a week.
Yeah, it is fascinating. Like there's a Civil War podcast I listen to. It's called the Civil War Roundtable. It's just a bunch of recordings from like the 70s and 80s. This group meets once a year in Chicago to talk about the Civil War, and they've archived them. I think you can find them on iTunes on the podcast app there, and just hearing old Civil War stories is great.
Civil War Roundtable?
I think that's what it's called.
Were they like veterans from it? Or?
No, it's just a bunch of historians and authors. They meet once a year in Chicago. And I think since 1960 something or 70 something, they started archiving every single meeting and recording it. And someone put them down on iTunes to download.
Yep, Chicago Civil War Roundtable, monthly meetings.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably a couple hundred of them, but they're fascinating.
Founded in 1940. Wow. I bet they do have some veterans there toward the end or toward the beginning.
Maybe, but that would have been like 75 years after.
Yeah, I mean, they'd be old. I had a World War II guy on this show.
Oh, did you?
He didn't last much longer, but he was old.
I got a World War II story for you. My grandfather, we used to hate going over to his house when we was kids. He always watched Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, Ernest Ainsley, all those old. He'd send him money. It's all about getting into heaven. So we always hated going in. Oh yeah, he was all in, man. Jim and Tammy Faye Baker. Hated going over there. Well, he died, I think 83 or 84. My mom died in 05, and we were cleaning out her stuff, and someone gave me grandfather's diary. He was in World War II. He was stationed on the USS Bunker Hill when he was hit by 2 kamikaze bombers. So I'm reading this journal from this 18-year-old kid. His friends die in a blazing inferno in the boiler room. So it's like, I wish I knew now what I knew, or knew then what I know now. It's like, I hate going over there, but now I'd love to just sit and pick his brain. You know, he survived, a bombing in World War II.
He probably didn't talk about it at all, did he?
The fallout that was. No, it drove him crazy. I mean, he turned to religion, which, religion is not a bad thing, but he was knee deep in giving money away to all these evangelists. But I get it now. It's like I didn't want to be around him, but I have a newfound respect for the stuff he did as a teenager and the stuff he saw and experienced that led him down that path.
Yeah, they saw the rawest stuff in the history of mankind. Those guys just experienced it like it was a field trip.
Yeah, and they were just kids.
And they didn't have tours of duty. They just went till it was over. They were gone for years. He left for 3 years. Like, how in the world? 3 years? It's the most insane thing in the world to me. I guess I'm sort of a modern age snowflake in that regard. He said he left at 3 a.m. I have to go back and listen to it, but told his then fiance or wife, they just got married, what was happening. Didn't see her again for 3 years.
Wow.
And was opening pillboxes in the South Pacific. Talking about how the dead bodies in Kwajalein, when they first took it back over, he said, it stinks. Yeah, I thought I was going to get flagged because he said the word Japs like 9,000 times. He just was rattling it off. I'm like, I'm not stopping him. This is part of history. It was one of those experiences when I did this. I'm like, if this is what I started this and I was meant to do, I'll be satisfied with it if this is all I accomplish.
Yeah, I saw something on the news today about the Nathan Bedford Forrest statue bust. They were something about food or something. It's like, I get it. Just put it in a museum, leave it alone. Just people want to learn about history. You can see his bust and you can talk about it.
Yeah, don't tear it down. That's scary. That's George Orwell stuff.
Yeah.
I can almost concede moving it to some central location where we can appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah,
maybe not in the town square,
but put it in a museum. That's fine. Just have a compromise, but at least keep the discussion going.
Yeah, I mean, you can't let it go. I had a historian / paranormal investigator who's obsessed with history and preserving. He's like a battlefield preservation as much as he is paranormal guy, maybe even more. And he was talking about that. He's from up in Chicagoland, so that's how important it was to him. He came down here to Shiloh and all those places, Savannah, Tennessee, and he just goes and visits them. He went down to Cherokee, Alabama, preserving a battlefield. Sounds like there's a Walmart on the battlefield.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Battle of Nashville, it's all condos and houses.
Yeah.
Murfreesboro, where the actual battle took place, there's a park up there, but it's only where 15% of the battle took place. The rest of it is just all developed. It's condos, it's shopping mall. I got a funny story from the Murfreesboro book. I did some research and I found out, I was looking at some maps and I found out what this general had. So I went to this location. It's now a CubeSmart. It's like a storage facility. So I go in there, I'm talking to this gentleman. I said, hey, I just want to know, is this place haunted? He's like, yeah, it's kind of crazy you come in here. But he was a black guy. And he said, when I go to the second floor, all the lights turn off. The sensor should turn them on, but it turns them off. He said, the ghost here, I think it thinks that I'm a slave and I'm trying to find freedom and it wants to help me. So I'm recording our conversation. And when I get back home, I play the recording back and he's telling me the story. And all I hear in the background is a snickering. And then someone say, ha, 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 he can't get around it. So the spirit or ghost there is just playing a trick on him. But he was interpreting as like, hey, this guy's really trying to help me.
I was going to say, it could either be one or two. There could be one or two explanations to why that was happening.
Yeah.
one of which is wholesome, the other is not. It's the haunted CubeSmart. It's a good way. They could monetize that. You're talking about that. It's one of my favorite topics. Tearing down the monuments, because we got a ton of monuments here. Obviously, there's also. Wait, what happened? There we go. Okay, there's like I'll harp on this like anytime the subject comes up, but like Huntsville's founded by Nazis, right? Or basically, modern Huntsville is like Werner von Braun. Yeah. Operation Paperclip, all the Nazis, the moon landing, and people drove past buildings named after Nazis to tear these monuments down. And I think that's probably the funniest thing. If I'm ever a comedian, that's going to be one of my bits, and I'll probably end up canceling Warner Von Braun inadvertently, but I don't care. I'm like, you people park your Subarus in front of the Von Braun Center to walk over here and tear down this Robert E. Lee statue. Now,
yeah.
Where's the irony? Where's the irony in that? That's glorious irony. You parked your Prius i5 in front of someone that enslaved Jews and made them work and shot them and had them shot in the head when they were slow. I will.
Yeah, I wonder.
That's the funniest YouTube's thing about Huntsville to me.
YouTube's gonna.
I've said it before. Okay. Yeah, let them do it, and I don't want to. Maybe it will. Maybe I'll get a. We're an hour 17 minutes deep. Nobody's gonna be watching this far unless I make it a clip. But the Apple has a show called For All Mankind. It's an alternate history of the moon landing. Real good show, amazing show. I don't know why it's not more popular, but they address that in that, and they end up like going back and kicking him out of NASA because they found out he was responsible for more than he claimed he was. Like that's the absolute first time I've ever seen anybody address it in that level, other than what it was.
Yeah.
And you go to the Rocket Center, and they have his office on display.
They don't mention about him being run out of town.
Oh, he's not been run out of town. He's a saint. He's the patron saint of Huntsville, man. There's no run out of town. He was never held responsible for anything.
Oh, they said they kicked him out of NASA though.
No, in the show.
Oh, okay.
And sorry, he might have cut out, but yeah, in the show they actually addressed it. In real life, no. In real life, he's a saint.
Oh, okay.
He had a house in Huntsville. We got the Warner Von Braun complex. You go on the military base I work in. There's Von Braun complex 1, 2, 3, 4. You go see Taylor Swift in Huntsville. She's at the Von Braun Center.
Is Taylor Swift going to play Huntsville?
No, I'm just saying.
That's what I thought.
I would think it'd be funny if they did, but no, she won't. Where is that? Crap. I was going to show you. Oh no, I forgot. I was going to show you my wife's a teacher, and so we went to the Rocket Center has the Saturn V, the rocket that went to the moon, laid out, pulled apart like a Lego set almost in this giant complex. People rent it out for weddings and Christmas parties. They had their prom there. And so I walked over to the Von Braun office and was like, just laughing. I'm like, I can't believe this is still here after all this shit. Standing for all the kids were dancing over there looking at NASA shit. I've got it pulled up over here. I was stalling. See, it's production. One man show.
You're doing an excellent job.
I know. You got me down one of my favorite rabbit holes. There it is, inside Von Braun's office. That's hilarious.
It seems like I took that tour when I was a kid. It's been a very long time.
It's much better now. They've got the old Space and Rocket Center that you remember, and it's more of a gift shop and exhibition where they'll have themes and things come through. Like Star Trek will do a theme, and Star Wars will do a theme. I think they had a Harry Potter one summer, and of course the local defense contractors have their own little areas rented out to show their rovers and their bazookas and then what have yous.
Yeah. Oh,
here's my favorite. Look, there's me pointing at LBJ. Look what you did.
What did he do?
Yeah. Like you made this happen, you fool.
I'll let you insinuate he took out John F. Kennedy.
Oh, he did. He did. That's why I was pointing at him.
Okay.
Like, I get in there and just go the opposite direction of everybody else. But they got that big Saturn V. But they have this. You know how big the Saturn V is here? How you can see it, like how big that is.
Mm-hmm.
They have the other one they have is laid down sideways, and it's hung up, and they have it all the different sections split up.
Yeah.
And so you're looking at it like a science experiment. And the building's like a half mile long.
Yeah, I've been in there, but it's been a while.
Yeah, it's nice. They used to have all they used to have all the because it's dedicated to the Apollo program. They used to have it all in that one little area, and now it's all spread out in Davidson Center.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot better. You don't have to crowd around a bunch of kids.
Yeah, I've been there, but it's been a very long time.
It's a lot better now. When I was little, it was already 50 years old. It seems like it's like the trophy ceremony of a program that had one good year. It's like the Tennessee trophy case. So we had one good game, one good season. And we're gonna dedicate everything to it. The 1998 Rocket Center.
Well, are they taking down that big rocket on the side of the interstate there?
I think there's a bill now going up to keep it.
Okay. Yeah,
I just saw something today. I think it might be a hazard. I think that's the problem.
Is that what they say?
See that? Yeah. But it's another Saturn V. I don't know if they're shopping at like a used Saturn V Emporium or what. I mean, like, how do they have so many rockets? I was noticing it today. Oh no, what is that? I don't want to hear sound. Here, we'll look at this and I'll let you go. I'm starting to harp on stuff now. Starting turning into an old man. And another thing. Yeah, there's the Alabama bill to restore replicate Saturn B5.
You're not the angry old man that shouts at clouds. You shout at rockets on the side of the interstate.
Yeah. Like I am 100% like I got certain things I can't give up on. Like I love the military industrial complex to a fault, mostly because I have a job because of it. But I don't want us to let our foot off the gas and become second best to anybody. I want to use that alien technology and that Nazi technology to be like the superpower. I don't want to be a superpower. I want to be like I want the aliens to actually have been us in the future from now coming back to give it to us. That's how good I want us to be. Yeah, I don't want to be, and I don't want to get on train cars because they confiscate our weapons either. That's another thing. That's terrifying.
I think I lost you.
I drive. Sorry. Yeah, I said I don't want to get on train cars because they confiscate weapons either.
Okay.
Yeah,
the connection kind of cuts out here fairly often.
Yeah, you're probably. Yeah, if you haven't streamed a lot, there's things happen. I've learned how to talk through it. I do so many of these. Some people, like if you're using a cell service or whatever, like it'll drop packets every so often.
I rarely stream anything, so.
Yeah, it could be a situation where if you dropped and came back, it would just work. But it's been a decent conversation, so I wasn't going to say anything about it. Like,
okay, as long as it worked for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too strict on the standards. I mean, as long as the story's good.
As long as it don't cut out the middle of a ghost story in Franklin about Thomas Jefferson Drake.
Yeah, that's the only time he did it. That's the only time it ever interrupted like an actual thing, and we.
See, on my screen here, it cut out like probably a dozen times.
Yeah, it has.
Okay,
but I'm a professional.
Okay, I'm just an amateur.
I have an Amazon chair and an Amazon microphone, and damn it, I'm a professional. Oh man, what was I going to say? It was funny. Oh, I had one girl from northern Indiana, a Bigfoot person. And I could say a question, and I'd wait 45 seconds, and she would answer me. That's how bad her internet was.
Oh, no.
And I was like, just sitting here like, what is happening? Look, I'm just going to quit.
Like the Jeopardy theme song or something.
I was so mad. Oh, yeah, and she was so nice because it would get to it. She'd just be really enthusiastic and then just stop, do like this, and wait for my comment. And every once in a while, she messaged me, "Hey, do you want me to come back on your show again?" I'm like, "No, I don't want you to lose this number, if you don't mind." And what's bad is she had actual pictures of stuff that I'm not even gonna tease myself. I'm not gonna go through that again. But she had like pictures of the corn. You know how Indiana looks in the corn.
Yeah.
And it's the when corn gets around dove season, turns brown.
Mm-hmm.
And she had the pictures of that, and like there was something in that corn walking around. And I'm like, God, I wish we could talk about this. And she had footprints from a pond. And I'm like, well, I guess we'll never know. But the good news is I saw her on other shows and the exact same shit happened, so I didn't feel as bad. I'm like, victim.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
I don't not believe. I've never seen it, so.
Well, it's
either, so.
It's a weird feeling when you realize that you should believe it, but your body doesn't want to. When you start hearing people who are not lying talk about it, you know what I mean by not lying. Like they know they saw something and they're not lying. They saw something.
Oh yeah, and it's like a ghost. I mean, someone who believes in Bigfoot may not believe in ghosts. So I mean, it's just
I mean, they may not even have saw a Bigfoot, but like they know what they saw. It was something like a bear doing cartwheels, for that matter. I mean, but some people are just like, man, what did you see out there? Like, and for heaven's sakes, get a good picture. Nobody gets pictures. And that's part of the thing. Like everybody gets the same picture and has the same experience with the camera. So what if that's what they actually do? And that's where you start going down these rabbit holes that do not stop. You have to like tether yourself to something like a tree stand. And so you can pull yourself back out. Otherwise, it'll just consume you. You have to get these guys who are flesh and blood. You have to get these guys who are flesh and blood Bigfoot people on to really like bring you back down to life, bring you back down to earth.
Yeah, I got a buddy. He'll go, or not a buddy, but an acquaintance through the paranormal. He'll go sit in the field all night just to look for Bigfoot. He's asked me to come out. I'm like, no, thanks, man. I'm good.
Yeah, that's mostly because if they're real and the concept of like either way, either if they're paranormal or flesh and blood, you're still a person in the woods of the light. And if they're a monkey, they're going to see you. And if they're paranormal, they're definitely going to see you. So there's no odds.
And if it's a vicious wild animal, it might be the end of you. So,
yeah. And you're in Tennessee where there's snakes and cottonmouths. I may go up to Minnesota and check it out one day, but I don't know. I just don't know. I don't want to go. I don't really want to drive to Minnesota in a Tundra. It'll cost $17,000.
Jeez.
It's 20 miles per gallon. That's all right. Okay. All right. We can go ahead and wrap it up now. I think we've covered everything. And I appreciate you coming on.
Covered the gambit.
Yes, I kept getting messages over here because this person wants to. One of my friends wants to be on their show, and so I'm trying to like silence it in my ear because it's killing me. Bloom, bloom, bloom. I'm not ignoring you or anything. But if let me know when you start doing those tours again, because I'm doing a. I'm going to try to do a in-person show / investigation back home, back in Scottsboro in late June with that place I found.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can get my stuff all situated, I got the little EVP reader and everything. If I can get that all situated out, I may start just going around every 6-8 weeks and hanging out with folks I've met through this. Tagging along
like the fifth member. I'm working on kind of. I'll post it once it's official, but yeah, there's stuff in the works.
Okay, yeah, just let me know because Tennessee has so much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Between Eric and you and Chris and seeing down here in the Flintville Monster. Flintville Monster could come down this creek I live next to and get me. I'm kind of scared. He is right there. All right. We'll go ahead and end it though, since so your internet doesn't completely go out on us.
Yeah, I've been up since